everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of the SoCal Prep Report. Rich Estrella with Bob Gibson and Randy Rosenblum, and we're coming to you today from Cypress High School, home of the Centurions. And the Centurions are doing pretty good right now in baseball. I'll tell you right now, fellas, they are not only our top 10, which is the only legitimate one in the world, but they're also quite a few top 10s, including few of the national polls, Bob.
We were standing here about 15 minutes, and their big second baseman, Michael Marsh, just teed off on a bomb to deep left center field. So they're ahead comfortably over Green Lutheran in this one. They are one of the best teams, not only in Southern California, but in the nation. We're going to talk about this Cypress squad. What a great program they put together here.
And I really like their aggressiveness. Not only do they have power, we saw Marsh's bomb, but I like their team speed on the base paths. They are relentless as a squad, and that's why they have such a terrific overall record.
Let's take a look now at the top 10 this week, and take a look at the top. Pretty much looked like it has been. There have been a few changes this week. Cypress sits atop. They have won 9 of their last 10 contests, fellas, and that bodes well going into the playoffs.
No, it absolutely does. I mean, you want to get, we talk about it, and we say it over and over again. It's kind of my mantra this time of year. You want to be hot at the right time, and this is the right time heading into the postseason. This is when you want to be playing your best baseball.
And they don't have a whole lot of pressure. They've won their league for a 7th consecutive year. They're primed and ready, just working on the small things to get prepared for the tournament.
Orange Lutheran now sitting in the 2nd position. Now, there's a lot of polls out there that are split between Cypress and Orange Lutheran. Orange Lutheran has won 12 of the last 13, fellas, and again, that bodes well going into the playoffs. You want to be hot at the end of the season, not at the beginning.
Now they've made a mockery. Well, Orange Lutheran's kind of made a mockery of this Trinity League. Now maybe the Trinity's not as strong as we thought it was this year, baseball-wise. Jay Serra started out well. Santa Margarita of all schools has come up and really shown well. So I mean that shows you the Eagles are here to stay for the next couple of years. But Modern Day's been down this year, and boy, St. John Bosco, who I had hopes for, really bottomed out this year. 1-10 in leagues. So it's been kind of a tough year in the Trinity. But Orange Lutheran head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, they really are good. There's a lot of teams when you think in terms of Division I that have terrific records, 22-3, 22-4, those kind of marks. So once they get into the tournament, it's hard to decipher which team will come out on top. I like the Division II team from Arcadia. They've lost 1 baseball game this year. They're hitting .345 as a team, and their pitching staff's ERA is 0.8. So Arcadia in D2 is as good as anybody, and I think they could play with the big boys, and they have to be the favorite in D2.
Well, that's why they were in our top 10. Now, taking a look at the 3rd position, Harvard Westlake. Harvard Westlake, man, they're going to close it out the last 2 games of the season with Notre Dame, Sherman Oaks, another national power. So you see, when you have teams that are national powers in the country, when it gets to league, man, and these guys are rivals, these next 2 games ought to be pretty good.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And Harvard Westlake won the first game of the meeting. They're actually playing 3 games in a week, which is kind of rare. Both teams know they're going to come out of the Mission League, but it's a phenomenal rivalry, and it helps both teams to have that kind of measuring stick getting ready for the upcoming Division I championship. So these are 2 dangerous teams. We all know about Harvard Westlake's past. They've had great players. So has Notre Dame and Sherman Oaks. So these are 2 programs that are very, very gifted and very dangerous.
They might flip-flop on our top 10, Randy. They could possibly flip-flop
it. You could do it.
It depends.
I think Tony Dill does a great job with the Notre Dame team, and he handles superstars really well. He had Green a few years ago, the pitcher, shortstop, and he just does a great job of handling his stars, and he's got a great player there in Lucas Gordon this year.
Ayala now in the 4th position. They're 22-5 right now, and Ayala can play with the big boys, Bob. They've done a great job all season long. It doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon.
No, that's been a program built on pitching over the years, and you're right. This is a program now that is letting you know, hey, we're here for the long haul, right? We're not the new kid on the block anymore.
They just beat Yucaipa too,
Yeah,
another team in our top 10. Let's go down to the 5th position. We see Huntington Beach at 20-6 right now. Huntington Beach, though, man, they've been having some problems. They've lost 4 of their last 12 games, and that does not bode well. That's what we're talking about. Being hot, being ready when you head to the playoffs. And right now they seem they've had a little stumbling block.
Better get it turned around. You don't want to peak early. You want to peak late.
And one of those losses was to Cypress.
Yep.
So that's a very good program, as we know. That's why we're here. And Cypress was able to beat Huntington Beach.
Notre Dame in the 6th position now, as we talked about. They got to play Harvard Westlake, man. And matter of fact, they're playing them now. And, of course, Harvard Westlake, they're 7-10. Or check that, Notre Dame 7-10. Going into the last 10 games. And 0-1, as we note, they already lost 1 to Harvard Westlake as a 3-game set. So we'll see where Notre Dame Sherman Oaks ends up. Arcadia, 21-1 guys in the 7th position, followed by Ukaipa, number 8, 21-5. They lost to Ayala, who was our number 4 team, so it's not a bad loss. Elisa Nagel, they're 24-4. They've won 11 of their last 12, and Miracosta popping into the top 10 guys. They're 20-7. They've won 9 of their last 10. Another team that is getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, the Mustangs were hot early, kind of had that lull in the middle of the season. Now they're back again. So we'll see. That Division I bracket is going to be, as we know, we don't know anything about the D1 bracket. It could go any of about 12 different directions.
We know that Tyson is such a great pitcher with Ukaipa. We saw him pitch the day we were there. He had 16 strikeouts, and you have a number 1 hurler like that. Certainly Ukaipa is capable of winning against anybody.
Absolutely.
Anybody in the top 10, but the top 3 or 4 are solid. You really can't, they're interchangeable. You can't go wrong. I mean, Olu, Cypress, Harvard, Westlake. I mean, these guys are all playing great competition. A lot of these guys were in the Boris Classic. Nobody ducked anybody this year, as far as I could see.
No, everybody's played everybody. No, it's been absolutely, it's been fun to see because you're right. Everybody's played everybody. They've had their chance, and we're going to see because once it gets to the postseason, right, everything just gets a little tighter. You know, the stakes are raised, and you're one and done. If you're out, you're out. You have a bad day, you're finished.
I used to think that picking a soccer champion was the hardest because, the games are low scoring and anybody could win it. Now when you look at these baseball tournaments, whether it be the southern section or the city section, it's really hard to pick a winner. I mean, it's really difficult because, like you guys said, it's one and done. It's one great pitching performance and you're gone. Yeah. So anybody on a given day can win the title.
Absolutely.
All this is pretty much, as we like to say, a crapshoot, simply because, man, you guys are dealing with high school kids, man, and things change day to day, man. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, but the good ones that can focus and stay focused on their game, especially during the playoffs, are the ones that are going to come out on top, guys.
It's
guys
true.
With the iron will.
Somebody got a D on their biology test. Somebody's girlfriend broke up with them. You never know, right?
Hey.
We're talking 15, 16, 17-year-old kids here,
Yeah, but that being said, if you had this same format with the Major League Baseball teams and it was one and done, you could take the worst team in the major leagues and they have a great chance to beat the best team. That's what we're looking at here when you get this high school baseball term. One and done in baseball is a very tough thing to negotiate.
Well, do we need a tournament?
I would like to see the championship go to a series of 2 out of 3. Even that doesn't really tell you that much more, but it is a little bit more of a measuring stick. If you get an Olu against a Cypress in the final, I'd love to see 2 out of 3.
You might have to expand the divisions, meaning more leagues, in order to get something like that done, because it's pretty quick. One and done, man. You keep moving on.
Well, the rumor now is that they're looking at a state championship for baseball and softball.
Baseball and softball, yeah, 2020.
That would be fun. That would
be interesting. Fun. The fan base is kind of sparse because the games are during the day, so a lot of parents can't make it out. They're working. Right. Otherwise, the fan base might be triple what it is right now. But once they get in the playoffs, man, it'll be a good crowds at Dodger Stadium this year. By the way, where it's going to be at. All right, let's look at softball now and take a look at the top 10 there. We see Norco on top. They did finally lose a game. They lost to Santiago, but they did beat Santiago early in the year. Both one-run ball games, and Santiago did take them into extra innings, fellas. They beat them by a run in 8 innings. So there's no problem losing a game to one of your league rivals, especially Santiago, who's like number 3, I believe, in our top 10 this week.
Right. That the top of these rankings are the best of the best, and there's no shame in Norco losing that game. Norco's still far and away the best team in Southern California. But you're right, Santiago. They showed though. Hey, when they get to the postseason, Santiago showed we're going to have a shot against Norco if it gets that far.
All righty. Number 2 team, Great Oak. You see them there, 21-3-1. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're followed by Santiago, 16-5-1. They've also won 8 of the last 10. Don't forget, man, they play everybody tough, man. Those 5 losses, forget about it. That was early on. They're not. Everybody else is in the rearview mirror except for Norco. Grand Terrace in the 4th position, 22-3-1, followed by Santa Margarita, 22-3. Chino Hills, 25-3. Number 7, Orange Lutheran, 26-1. As we talked about earlier, Randy Lakewood, 25-3. They're in the top 10 in our softball, and followed by Ayala, and then Los Alamitos. Los Alamitos' schedule's pretty tough. It's like a national schedule. That's why they're 17-8, but it's where you finish, man. People get hot all the time. Look at Santa Fe last year, Bob.
Well, we've seen teams take their lumps early. You're right. That Santa Fe team was a great illustration.
That large team. That large team.
Exactly. Got hot at the right time. Even the basketball team this
Yep,
year. Look what the girls' basketball
team, yeah.
team did this year, right? Got in the playoffs, made a nice run. So it can be done. You got to get hot at the right time. You got to be ready to play your best game at the end. And we've seen teams take their lumps early on, right? We've seen teams take, go play that crazy schedule, and they're better for it once you get to the postseason.
And of course, it's like a hot goalie. If you get a hot pitcher, of course, in the NHL, if you have the hot goalie, you have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. You get a hot pitcher, you can win low-scoring games in softball. So when one of these pitchers steps up during tournament time, you got a chance to win it all.
Let's go to Carlos Pena with this report.
Folks, welcome back to SoCal Prep Report. I am so happy you come back to us. We just finished talking about a very interesting topic, associations, groups. What can you tell us about that?
Well, associations are basically just what their structure is. It's like, for instance, officials are all technically self-employed. And so even though they're a member of an association, the association is responsible for assigning the games. They're still an independent contractor.
Right.
Okay, but our biggest problem is teaching more people about officiating and what their goals and aspirations are. Because a lot of people, once you teach them that what you're trying to accomplish, then they understand it from a different light. And go ahead.
No, it's education.
Yeah.
Education's a big key, and I know you were talking about, well, why can't we get colleges to bring in some kind of program, or those students that are studying sports management or physical education?
Yeah, I'm sure
to
a
get involved as
lot of
refs.
people that would, somewhat interested don't even know how do you go about this. Well, if this were something that was standardized and offered at a community college with your general PE courses, more people would have. It would just be more visible,
Right.
And it would almost produce a flow of people into it that doesn't exist today.
Right.
It's kind of just word of mouth,
Use
How-
of social media and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. But I really, the community colleges all have a class in place, structured class called sports officiating, and I would love to get them. Nobody offers it, as an option. But I would love to get the local colleges involved in that, so that we could then just people learn more about it. Because if the people learn more about it, they may want them to come into the program.
You need to be able to promote it and let people know
They
what's
could
going
make
on.
it kind of a work study. Part of that semester would be actually learning the game and being a journeyman, an apprentice, in the JV games and those kind of things.
Right.
Why would they not?
Exactly. We talked about the college area. What about mom, dad? It's at home and say, you know what? I think I want to give this a shot.
Exactly. And
how do we get them going?
And another thing we could do that we haven't been able to get involved in is the community service. Every community has classes, yoga and ballroom dance. Why couldn't we have sports officiating as one of those?
Sure.
I think they call it community classes or community. I live in Apple Valley. They have one. Hesperia has one. Victorville has one. We get involved in those things.
Bring
then
awareness.
everybody could come in.
So I guess that would
referee.
the focus to present this would be to the Parks and Recreation Department, right?
Right.
They
Get
would
people involved. In
yeah,
that
have
way.
them understand the necessity and the requirements that are involved, and have them present it to their those classes, those community
Exactly.
classes.
Exactly.
When you look at, I use soccer a lot. I'm involved with soccer a lot. One of the first courses is when you get your national license, talks about rules and parenting and this and that. And why can't a parent take a course to understand what goes on behind refereeing, or first-time coach?
Oh, yeah.
So they can see and understand what's going on. Do we have anything like that?
No, not that I know of. Not that, but it'd be nice if recreation leagues require all parents to go to a
behavioral class, really.
orientation. You could do it.
Learn about refereeing.
You could do it in an hour or so.
Every year you read several times about somewhere there were fights in the stands, and they've actually Pop Warner leagues where they banned parents from coming to the games, and it's
AYSO
Parents need to understand what a referee has to go through.
Yeah.
It's gosh, so many different things we can talk about.
Oh, yeah, we could do this.
Bottom line, you know, schools are the population of the schools is growing.
Yeah.
Referees are getting a little bit older. We need those young referees and education.
All the time, all the time. You know, we need to educate everybody. For instance, the rules are different from normally little league, to high school, to college, to pro. They're always a little different.
Yeah.
And of course, who gets the print is, or who gets the acknowledgement is the Division I and the pros. So we every once in a while we'll have someone say, for instance, a big one is, oh, he was out of the box. That's not intentional grounding. Well, we don't have that rule.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have that rule.
You know, I'm glad you brought up rules. There's one big rule that this last year that I saw, and I kind of agree with it. You know, leading with the helmet, head injuries. Yeah. Why do we have that rule in place?
Well, the CTE thing that finally came to light has made it known that really injures, especially young brains. And that's why probably the last 10 years, specifically, 90% of the rules are put in place is to protect the athlete.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea that, you know, now if you get a concussion, you have to sit out for at least a week.
Yeah, concussion protocol.
Concussion protocol. And actually, I think it's a big rule. But when Coach Odom and I played, you know, those hits got you noticed and got you a college scholarship.
Exactly.
And,
now
you know,
they're illegal.
We're getting away from that culture now.
It is a penalty, but you know, as I learned the game and have turned around and taught, it's not only just wrong to do it; it's unsafe to do it.
It's unsafe to do it.
When you see throughout history these kids that end up quadriplegics, they were not being hit; they were the ones making bad tackles and bad form.
Exactly.
By leading with the head. You know, that's something I stress is that in order to take that, to absorb that impact, you can't use your spine and you can't use it's your neck muscles, and they've gotten away from that. It used to be your linemen from Nebraska didn't have a neck because they worked it so hard, you know. And so my teams always do that. We have a neck machine in our weight room and we work it hard. That's going to save you from a lot of injuries.
Exactly.
Again, aside from it being illegal, it's unsafe. So proper technique and tackling is really important. It always has been. But it hadn't really been stressed until it became a penalty.
Now, here in CIF, and we have the refs, do referees get with CIF and say, hey, look, these are the trends we've seen. These are rules that we think you should be implemented. How does that work?
Well, actually, you know, our rules come from the National Federation of High School Athletics.
NFHS.
And that's NFHS, and that's located in Indianapolis. Well, every year, our state rules commissioner, our state rules interpreter, goes to that meeting. And usually about early in the season, the first few weeks, we have an opportunity, every official has an opportunity to suggest a rule to our state rules interpreter. If he sees enough of that suggestion, he'll take that to the rules committee for consideration. And that's how a lot of these rules for safety have gotten changed. It's because of that. Starts from the ground up.
Right,
basically.
right. And then they're valid.
They're valid.
It's safety. You have to be safe with these kids.
Yeah, and here's the latest print. This is printed from February from the NFHS, and it's a synopsis of the different rule changes, and it's just a simple one page, 5 or 6 of them. And then here's the bulletin from CIF, and the CIF generally would, if they had a problem or they would express it in this, but for the most part, the CIF rules are governing schedules and that kind of thing. You know, rules of contact and that kind of stuff. They rarely do they ever override. You know, or try to. But they can. They can. You know, the CIF can put out their own rules. You know, beyond the national. And then, as I understand it, there are some organizations, the different sections are able to do that too.
Right.
You know.
Like for instance, we have a 25-yard overtime rule, and many other states don't have that.
Right.
In fact, for a long time they didn't have that in Northern California. When they started the state championships,
We have to agree.
We went back to the rule book, which actually is a 10-yard overtime. You know, it started at the 10-yard. So the first few championships were 10-yard until finally Northern California liked the 25, and they adopted Southern California's CIF, Southern Section.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's the kind of rules they usually look at.
And I would imagine a lot of the rules too, when it comes to safety, is because the players aren't developed like older players. You know, we grew up playing in the streets, falling from trees, and this. We just don't have that anymore. You know, so we have to be a little bit safer with these kids that aren't.
But they're well-developed thumbs.
That's another topic for for another show, folks. That's pretty much it. All we have here, a lot of great information, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, for this roundtable. I enjoyed it. A lot of good information.
Thanks, Carlos. You know, Carlos did a great job on that, Bob. You know, there has been a lack of officials. It ain't like the old days when everybody would come out, you know, after playing, your playing days are over, you still want to get some action, so you officiate. But, man, you know, just due to all the crybaby parents and unruly fans, it's a thankless job. You can keep the check, right?
Yeah, there's not much money in it. And then, right, it used to be a great place for people to come and kind of older guys to be able to give back a little bit. But, yeah, right, who wants to get screamed at and yelled at and attacked?
But a ton of guys in SoCal, they do move up. I mean, you know, Tony Careni, he's probably the best official out there, the most well-known. I mean, the guy's a teacher out here in Southern California, one of the local high schools. Al Granado, another one who's a long-time Pac-10, Pac-12 official, NFL official.
Laird Hayes?
Yeah,
Laird Hayes
ton
did
of guys
Laird
come
Hayes
around
in
here.
the NFL?
Not just NFL, NBA too, our own Mo Orr, NCAA official, all right?
That's true.
So he's blown a lot of calls. I don't think he's going to get called back to the NCAAs next year. I'll tell you that right now, fella. Just keeping it real out there for all you fans.
Krzyzewski screaming at him,
Absolutely.
Man.
All right, so coming up this weekend is the LA City Section Hall of Fame. And we happen to know a couple of the inductees. And why don't we just talk about them? First of all, Bob, let's talk about Vince Ferragamo, your boy. Old Vinny.
Vinny.
With Manning High School. His brother Chris Ferragamo was a coach there. I think Chris is going in too.
Yeah, the brothers are going in.
And so a lot of crazy people. Of course, Anthony Davis, AD, not the guy that the Lakers are trying to get. We're talking about
the old
guy,
SC running back.
The guy who played for USC back in the 20s and 30s, all right? Actually, it was the 70s and 80s or something like that, Bob.
Close
but
enough.
anyways, a lot of you guys won't know
Close
him. Your
enough.
dads, your grandfathers will know him, but a lot of you youngsters will not know who Anthony Davis is. And, of course, another name I saw in there was, Randy Rosenblum is going in. That's why we froze Randy out of this segment.
Yes.
So, Randy, how did you get in that? How did you happen to squeeze into the Hall of Fame in LA City?
How big was the check?
I lost weight. That's how I squeezed in. No, I was fortunate enough over the years to do a lot of different shows for the city section, and you know they've thought enough of me, I guess, to put me in as a contributor through the media, and I really appreciate that. I have done over 100 of their LA City Section championships over the years in many different divisions and many different sports. Eric Sotheimer from the LA Times is going in as well, deservedly so. I like Marv Dunphy, the volleyball coach at Pepperdine. He's originally from Taft High School in Woodland Hills. Marv's a close friend of mine, and he's going in. I can go on and on. I got the whole list here. Don Buford, former Baltimore Oriole from Dorsey High School. Paul Knox, the football coach from Dorsey. I mean, there's a lot of great guys going in. Lucius Harris, the basketball player.
Knox used to come to a lot of my football clinics, Bob.
Did he?
Learned the offense, man. That's
There
where
you
he
go.
learned it.
You taught him, huh?
No, Knox is a legend. He's legendary, man. There's no doubt.
There are like
for
25
sure.
guys
yeah.
from Dorsey go to the National Football League that played for Coach at Dorsey High School.
I like, but you didn't answer Bob's question. I like that question, Bob. How much big was that check, Randy? Did you write?
It can't be that much, or it would bounce a few spots. But no, it wasn't a matter of dollars. A matter of just being fortunate enough to being around the right people, the committee people, and they were kind enough to put me in. It's not an easy thing to get into, and it's the 5th time they've had this. This is the smallest class, believe it or not. They were putting in 40 at a clip in the previous 4. That's what they do with Hall of Fames. They'll build them up early, and then as the years go on, they cut them back. Now there's going to be 20 that go in, plus a legacy class. So I'm really thrilled about Sunday night at the Odyssey in Granada Hills. 550 people will be there. It's a sold-out room. It's going to be a lot of fun, and my speech, we'll see how entertaining I am.
Interesting. Didn't he? I thought Randy was employing you as a speechwriter on this one,
yeah,
Bob.
Yeah, I'm going to write the speech for him.
You know, if it was me doing it, They'd probably throw you out.
You wrote Eric's speech, right?
I'm not writing any speech.
You could not adhere to the limit. You only get 2 to 3 minutes.
That's
I can't
it?
write a speech, man.
2 to
I
3
just
minutes.
come in and say it from the heart, baby.
2 to 3 minutes.
Gio
All
wrote
right.
a
Well,
speech.
you know,
Thank
Randy,
Gio.
congratulations getting in that. I know Hall of Fames are definitely difficult to get into. A lot of it's political, and you know, however you got in, brother. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. And I did not
got in
pay.
strictly on merit.
Yeah, I didn't pay. Although I would have, but I
He
didn't.
would have, but he didn't have to.
I would have, yes.
Yeah, well, we paid. We're still paying. All right, Red, let's get into the city section. Let's talk about some of the good stuff that's going on as we wind down. You know, football's right around the corner, man. So let's talk about baseball and finish it out here.
All right, well, first of all, Birmingham's going to host the semifinals now. USC has enlarged the price. They played the semis at SC the last few years and then gone to Dodger Stadium for the championships. But the price went up to about $19,000
Outrageous.
for the semifinals. $19,000. So to have them at Birmingham, it's less than a quarter of that. It's like $3,000 or $4,000. So even though the kids would like to play at Birmingham, and I know the coaches aren't too happy because if Birmingham gets to the semifinals, and that's a possibility, they're the two-time champion, Birmingham could have home field. And the West Valley schools will have an advantage because they've all played there. And for a team like San Pedro, who I have number 2 in my poll, that could be difficult for San Pedro or Palisades coming into the Valley. So that's a little bit of an issue, and some of the coaches are up in arms. But I agree with the city section. There is no way you're going to pay an extra $15,000 to play the games at USC.
SC ought to throw that thing in for free. They could use all the goodwill in the community right now.
Especially
Trust
now,
me on that
man.
one.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Well, that's
I
what's
agree.
happening.
I can't believe
Unbelievable.
20 G's, huh?
Agreed.
19.
Agreed.
It's 20.
Close.
Pretty much.
Agreed.
You want my top 10 quickly?
Please,
Yeah, let's
please.
do it.
I have ECR up at number 1 now. They won the Redondo tournament, beat El Segundo in the process. They beat them 10-1 in the championship. So I have ECR as number 1. I've dropped San Pedro to number 2. They've lost 3 games in a row. They were playing brilliant baseball. They weren't against city competition. I still think they're very dangerous. In the 3rd spot, I have Palisades. I love their depth in the pitching department. Chatsworth, a shaky 4. I think the Chancellors are good, not great. All those West Valley League teams, Chatsworth, Birmingham, Cleveland, which is not playing well now, and I've dropped them all in my top 10. San Fernando's dangerous out of the Mission League. I have them up there. Carson's playing well out of the Marine League. Is Roosevelt and Hamilton, who are playing better baseball. But I don't know how much I can trust them come tournament time, how deep they can go.
Let's talk about the Garfield situation with the quarterback and wide receiver leagues. And I heard that they might already be back. I don't know how true that is, but I understand the quarterback, the sophomore quarterback and wide receiver from Garfield may already be going back from Roosevelt to Garfield.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard
Word
the
on
same
the street.
thing. Yeah.
Word on the, I saw it on a wall somewhere. I was reading it.
I saw a wall with the same thing. Yeah,
I can't
you're
give up
talking
my
about
source.
Jonathan Batista, the
Yes.
quarterback, and he took Romero, his wide receiver, with him. They were going from Garfield to Roosevelt, and Garfield was very professional about the whole thing. They said, "Hey guys, if you're going to do that, you're going to do that." That's what. So they didn't go crazy over it.
Right.
And maybe the kids have reconsidered and said, "Hey, what are we doing? Garfield's a great program. We won a regional championship last year. Roosevelt's improved. They have a good program." But they're not Garfield, and they haven't won that East LA Classic in a long time. No matter which school he ends up at, that East LA Classic, and we talked about this, Bob, a few weeks ago, it's going to be a crazy game.
It usually is, but it's just good to see that, you know, cooler heads finally prevailed. Whatever was driving these kids out, you were going to go into a bad situation, man. You can't be a hot passer and a hot wide receiver and go into a wing T situation or even a veer offense because your opportunity is going to be way limited. And I would stay home, man. If I already went to state and was a runner-up, I'm going for the title next year and the year after that. You know, you got your notoriety already made. You got the target on you. Go out there and defend your title.
Well, what Lorenzo Hernandez has built there is something very special right now. So,
Yes,
to be a
indeed.
Garfield Bulldog has always meant something really extra special now with what this program has done the last few years.
Yeah, and he's built it up with a very good schedule. He's played a lot of Southern Section schools. Now, he's come down a little bit this next year. They won't play quite the schedule. He's come down a little bit last year as well, and it bodes well for his team. He was playing the upper echelon teams in
That's
the
how you
Southern
get
Section.
better, though.
Yeah.
But he did bring his program to prominence, and it happened a number of years ago in a game we had on LA 36 when they upset Birmingham at Birmingham about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's when the program started to turn around.
Anyways, that's all we have for today.
That's it?
That went fast.
Wow.
Got to relax. Cypress won 6-0. Looks like they're going to just run away with the league and heading for the playoffs, man. Good way to go. On behalf of Randy Rosenblum, Bob Gibson, I'm Rich Estrella, saying so long from your friends here at the SoCal Prep Report.